It is Super Bowl week, and I have a question for all of you watching. Would you rather have Brock Purdy or the current quarterback leading your NFL team? Last week, we picked the best AFC quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. We are picking the NFC this week, and I have an unbelievable take on LeBron James, but I think you're going to find it more believable than you might think. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who was alive when the Cardinals were still in Chicago, my dad, Tim.
Okay, they were there from 1920, they're the first NFL franchise,
Yes.
to about 1959, 58, 59, something like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't born then, so I don't remember them.
You were born, December 61, if I remember correctly? So what? I'm a season and a half off.
If you remember.
If I remember correctly, I do remember. You're born December 61. Either way, back to this. Don't turn this on me. You missed it by like a season and a half.
And
okay?
I'm holding on to that season and a half real hard.
You know, we are making the picks for the NFC quarterbacks today. I have to say the Cardinals may have been my hardest one ever because it's only Super Bowl era. But even if you go outside Super Bowl era,
It's tough.
it's tough. But we're going to do that later in the show, so make sure you stay for that one here. I have another thing that happened in the NBA.
Okay.
As you know, the NBA trade deadline is coming up quick. LeBron James, who doesn't do things not on purpose normally. He's very much like Aaron Rodgers. He's very calculated and strategic in how he puts stuff out. LeBron James made a tweet before the Knicks game. They were in New York City playing at Madison Square Garden. He made a tweet with simply an hourglass. And then coming into the stadium, wore Knicks color shoes, so orange and blue tennis shoes. And then at the end of the game, in his post-game conference while still on the court, had a towel wrapped around him that was a New York Knicks towel. Now, the New York Knicks towel may not have been intentional. He was at the game. He could have just asked for a towel, but I've never seen a player wear another team's towel before. In fact, you have towel boys on your team or girls, whatever, that will give you a towel. You have equipment staff for that.
If I'm the Lakers, I'm really unhappy about the shoes. But it was before the game.
No,
And the
Lakers
Knicks,
said they're not trading him, and LeBron's agent said he's not being traded.
okay, when a coach gets a vote of confidence, he's almost out the door. So I'm taking what they said with a grain of salt. Do I think he wants to go to the Knicks? Maybe. But I think there's another team he'd more likely end up at.
I think so too. Now, let me ask you this. If LeBron leaves, say he's traded at the deadline to the Knicks, do the Knicks retire, or the Lakers, do they retire his number?
The Lakers retire a lot of numbers.
Yeah, but they don't, though. I mean,
Well-
everybody that's been retired, it's not like the Bucks where they retire people who aren't in Hall of Fame.
You know, like Brian Winters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look,
What has he done?
he's won a title for him. Granted, it was in the bubble, but he did win a championship for him. He got them back to somewhat respectability. They had a couple down years before he got there. Yes, I think they're going to retire his number. I think that was part of the deal.
You think? Win a title, you retire your number? I mean, they won in the bubble. It doesn't even count.
But it does.
I guess.
They hung a banner for the preseason tournament, for God's sakes.
In-season tournament, but
Preseason. The season doesn't start until Christmas
that's
Day.
fair. I know. I don't know why they did that. Obviously, it's an NBA thing. But here's my take, right? And we talked about this. The Detroit Pistons are reals bad right now.
They're
right?
tanking.
They've won less than 10 games this year so far. If they get the number one overall pick, they're going to draft Bronny, LeBron James' son, and LeBron James is going to go and play for the Detroit Pistons.
Would that surprise me? No. Would that be a good draft pick? I'm not so sure.
Here's the thing, though. If you're the Detroit Pistons, you have two guys that could be superstars. But that is the youngest team in the NBA. They have no veterans on it, at least no veterans that are any good. There's no supporting cast. If you're going to get a young team like that, the best thing you can have is LeBron James there to help them learn.
But here's my question. Is Bronny James a legitimate NBA player?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It should matter.
LeBron James goes and is automatically the best player on that Pistons team.
Well, he goes to most places, and they're the best player.
They're a championship team. In an East that's getting weak again.
No, it's not. You've got Philadelphia, although Embiid is out for the season. Maybe
the season.
You've got the Celtics that are still there and the Bucks that are still there. Memphis is still a good team.
West.
Oh, that's right. You've got some teams that are respectable. The Heat are going to be there at the end. The Hawks, probably not this year. It's not.
Who you got?
I mean, I look at the East versus West. I don't know which one's stronger anymore.
I don't either. I'm just saying, if you're coming over to the Detroit Pistons, I also think of this because the NBA wants the Pistons to be good again.
They do. They've been good
bad for a long time.
They haven't been good since the Bad Boys.
Well, since 04-05. Don't forget they won back-to-back championships.
Oh, that's right.
With Rasheed Wallace and team. So they were good for a little while there. Chauncey Billups was on that team too, right? Yeah, Chauncey Billups was on that team. That was a really good team. I remember those teams. They were fun to watch. But Detroit's been bad for way too long. They clearly want Detroit to be better again. The NBA is known to rig the lottery picks, no matter what you say.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly.
Allegedly.
Fine.
I'm not going to get in trouble.
Allegedly. They're known for rigging the picks. Allegedly.
Yes.
But if they were to rig the picks.
Allegedly.
The Detroit Pistons are getting the number 1 overall pick. LeBron James is going to Detroit with Bronny James because he wants to play there. And what better place for them to play? They're going to sell out every single night. Yeah. And it's going to be great for the NBA to get the Pistons back in the playoff running.
Look, Detroit and Milwaukee would be a very interesting matchup all of a sudden.
It would be great. It would be great. I really think that the Detroit Pistons are tanking on purpose to draft Bronny James so they can get LeBron to come to Detroit. That is where LeBron plays next year, is with the Detroit Pistons.
And I will go on record as saying they're doing what's best for marketability of the franchise. I'm not sure they're doing what's best on the floor for the franchise, even if LeBron comes.
But you don't know what Bronny James can be. He's a really good player, right?
With a lot of health issues.
He had a bad heart. I mean, he had an incident with his heart that seems to be okay now. He's clearly on the floor, still not doing a lot with minutes, but he's getting back into it. But if you can get LeBron James to come to Detroit, and you can all of a sudden sell LeBron James jerseys in Detroit and sell out that stadium, bring primetime in, you're bringing back media to Detroit, and that's what you need.
He would be the first player to have his number retired in 4 cities.
I mean, I don't think Detroit would retire his number.
Oh, you bet they would.
Not if they don't win.
Yes, they would.
I don't think they should retire his number in LA. I don't think he's done enough there. He broke a lot of records there.
Sure.
But he had already established breaking those records in Cleveland and in Miami. He's definitely been retired in Cleveland.
Won a title.
Definitely being retired in Miami.
And he won a title in LA. I don't care if it was a bubble. They count it.
I guess. I don't think
so. Yes. Counts. And the Lakers will retire his number. I mean, they put up a banner. Caught myself. They put up a banner for the preseason tournament.
They did, but what does that have to do with retiring numbers?
If they'll put that up there, they'll retire a number.
I guess.
I mean, they were better than teams like the Bucks.
Are they going to retire both numbers like they did for Kobe? Because don't forget, he started 23 and now he's back to 6.
I think he retires 6 and he's done with it.
You were 23 for the championship.
Look at the team like the Bucks. They retired Brian Winters.
Right. But that's when Herb Cole bought the team. He was trying to get people into the stand, so they had a bunch of retirement things just to draw a crowd for a bad team.
By the way, nothing against Brian Winters. He was a good player for the team for a long time, but it was a team that never won anything.
Well, if you're not a Hall of Famer,
exactly,
you shouldn't get your number retired, unless it's somebody like Ernie Davis for Cleveland, who
never played.
He never played, but he was just as good as Jim Brown in college and then got cancer.
Yeah.
So they retired him to honor him. So I
have no problem with that.
But if you're not a Hall of Famer, and if you never played in that sport, a.k.a. Heat retiring Dan Marino's.
Yeah, that was weird.
Or didn't play for that team unless you're Jackie Robinson, the Heat retiring 23 in Miami, which doesn't make any sense to me either.
These
I don't
teams,
get it.
I don't either.
But why would you retire somebody's number unless it was a special circumstance? Why would you retire the number of a player? That's not
LeBron brought the Lakers back to prominence. They were on a little bit of a downturn.
Sure.
They're going to retire his number. Guaranteed.
I don't think they should. I really don't.
Maybe not,
I mean,
but they're
you could
going
argue
to.
he wasn't the best player on that team. At least he shouldn't have been. I mean, Anthony Davis had one good season. That's a weird situation, but my unbelievable take that is pretty believable is that LeBron James is going to be a Detroit Piston next year. That's going to happen.
He's going to play with his son next year.
He is.
Wherever that is.
And if I'm Detroit, I am drafting his son just to get LeBron to come. That is a smart franchise move. They haven't made any other good franchise decisions.
No, that is a smart business move to get people in the seats. It's not necessarily a good franchise move.
I think it is. Because if Bronny all of a sudden turns out to be as advertised.
If a dog eats a tree, you know,
I get it.
I've told you that for years.
I get it. But I'm just saying it brings people into the stands. It brings relevance to Detroit. The NBA wants that to happen. That is going to happen. And I have a weird trend of getting things right on this show.
I will say that'll make the East very interesting because then you've got the Bucks, you've got Detroit, you've got Philadelphia with a healthy Embiid.
And the Cavs have been pretty good lately too.
And you also have Boston.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna.
Miami's
it makes
good.
Too much sense for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like I can't. It makes perfect sense. His times run out in LA. Nobody cares anymore, and they're not a good team. Like LeBron destroyed that team. Like got it for the championship. And now it's over.
I think it's proved that players should not go into these teams and be a good and try to be the GM.
No.
Rodgers has not done the Jets any favor.
Well, that's not fair for Rodgers, though. He built that team for him, not for Zach Wilson.
A player should be a player, not the player personnel.
If that player was playing, they may be in the Super Bowl. So you can't say he built a bad team when that team was built for Aaron Rodgers to be Aaron Rodgers.
Just saying. LeBron was the de facto GM in LA. I'm not sure it's the best team to.
Well, he's had a habit of destroying teams that he's left.
Yes.
You're not wrong about
that. Okay. We done with that one?
Yeah.
I've got a question for you.
All right.
I want you to put. We're fans of different teams.
Yeah.
In some cases.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you this as a Wisconsin person. We're residents of Wisconsin.
Right.
And we'll do Wisconsin Badgers / Ohio State Buckeyes.
Okay.
Which would you rather have? A Packers Super Bowl?
Yeah.
A Badger getting to the finals in football?
I don't want that at all.
Ohio State winning a national championship?
Okay.
The Badgers getting to another Final Four or winning the Final Four?
Okay.
Brewers / Cubs winning a World Series? Or Bucks winning another NBA title? How would you rank those in order of this is what I want the most?
I mean, the Badgers are last. I don't want that to happen at all.
For me, they'd probably
Brewers
be
are also dead last.
Use the Cubs in your case.
Okay. I just want to make that clear.
I know. I have the Brewers up there because they haven't been since '82.
That's fair.
But
that's fair. Ohio State, Bucks would probably be last for me as a priority. Like, I like the Bucks, but I mean, if I have to put them on the priority list, it would be they're my fourth by far.
I think for me, it would be the Packers, the Badgers, number 2, Cubs / Brewers, number 3.
Yeah.
Wisconsin basketball, number 4.
Yeah.
No, Bucks number 4, and then Wisconsin basketball, number 5.
Yeah. Ohio State basketball, I don't care.
No, I know. But the Badgers seem to have a decent team this year.
Yeah, I haven't cared about Ohio State basketball since Greg Oden was there. Like, it is what it is. Man, that's a tough one because here's the issue I'm having, right? I am a huge football fan.
You are.
Like NFL fan, I'm a huge football fan and a very big Packer fan. Baseball I enjoy, but I am a huge Cubs fan. Like, I like the Cubs more than I like baseball, almost. Where I like the NFL as much as I like the Packers.
Yeah, and I'm
Does
like
that make
that.
sense?
Yeah, because I'm like that with baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball's the most perfect game that's ever been invented. I'll watch a Dodgers-Seattle game if it's on.
Yeah, see, I won't, right? But I will watch any Cubs game that's on.
Sure.
Where the NFL, I'll watch who's ever playing just to watch the game. I enjoy the game. As a Cubs fan, I think the biggest thing for me, number one, would be the Cubs winning World Series. I remember the excitement in 2016.
We've showed the video of you and I.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Cubs winning the World Series that is number one for me. Two is Packers, because I'm a huge Packer fan. 2A, I would say, is Ohio State, and then the Bucks would be fourth. I mean, I really am itching for an Ohio State championship because it's been a while at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's Packers and Ohio State are 2 and 2A. They're right there. But the Cubs has to be the number one. Seeing the Cubs win a World Series is what I want to see.
Believe me. I mean,
not with Craig Counsell though.
No, I've seen my first game ever watching a baseball game on TV was Ernie Banks hitting his 500th home run. I've been a Cubs fan since then.
Yeah,
we used to have an old antenna that could reach Rockford, and I was able to pick up the game.
Yeah.
I also was a huge Brewers fan. You know that.
Right.
They haven't done. I mean, they've had decent teams, but they've never really sniffed the World Series. Maybe once. But so I'd love to see them get back and of course win at some point. But I would love to see the Cubs win another World Series.
Yeah. Number one is definitely Cubs for me. You let us know what you would rank your teams in football, baseball, basketball, even hockey if you're a big hockey fan.
Go Lightning.
I go Admirals, AAA teams. So I guess I'm cheering Predators. That's the Predators team. Milwaukee Admirals is awesome. You let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. It is Super Bowl week.
Yes, it is.
And you got to ask me a question.
I did.
So that means I get to ask you a question, my friend.
Oh, God.
With Super Bowl wins, name the teams with 3 or more Super Bowl wins.
Packers.
Packers with 4.
Steelers.
Steelers are tied for first with 6.
49ers.
49ers 5.
Do I have to mention the Patriots?
Patriots are 6 wins, tied for first.
For wins. Cowboys.
Cowboys have 5.
How many am I missing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. 4 with 3, and you're missing 1 with 4.
Redskins.
Yep.
I mean, Washington.
They have 3.
Okay. I only know about 2 for the Giants, so I don't think it was them. Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Giants? Oh, yes, they did. Because of the guy with the mustache, they won one.
Giants have 4 Super Bowl victories.
Okay. All right. Denver.
Denver has 3.
Rams.
Nope. Rams have 2.
Okay.
2 more teams.
2 more teams. Okay, 2 more teams. I'm going to hate myself. Miami? No, nope. They only won
they
back
won 2.
in the day. Said the Cowboys.
Yep.
Did I say Philadelphia?
They are not on the list. They have 1 Super Bowl win.
Okay, I'm out.
All right, AFC West.
AFC West.
Both teams are in the AFC West.
Raiders?
Raiders have 3.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of them with 2. That's right. They won the one with Marcus Allen.
They did.
Damn.
1 more.
Come
on.
AFC. Oh, obviously the Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
God.
Patriots and Steelers have 6. Cowboys and Niners have 5. Packers and Giants have 4. And with 3 is the Chiefs, Raiders, Washington football team, and the Denver Broncos.
I was so focused on the teams I forgot. Oh, they're playing the Super Bowl this week. Yes.
Can you believe this? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that have not won a Super Bowl. That's crazy to me.
A lot of teams. But
that is a lot of teams. That is almost half the league that has not won a Super Bowl.
Actually, it is half the league. If they're, what'd you say? How many?
12. Not quite half.
Not quite. But you've got a lot of new teams. You've got expansion like Jacksonville, and I mean Seattle's been there and won.
But the Lions have been there for a long time. The Browns, the Cardinals, the Titans, Oilers, the Falcons, the Chargers, the Bills, the Bengals.
Bills are the one that hurts.
And the Vikings.
Yeah, well, that's just God having a sense of humor, and
because they went inside. That's what happened to the Bears if they go inside.
It is, and that's we're going to talk. I'm going to do a last word on this at some point, but I heard something. It was interesting. The Vikings lost their identity when they went to play indoors. They were
100%.
no longer the purple people eaters.
Right.
I think the Bears are not going to be the monsters of the Midway if they're in a dome.
They have to do a retractable roof. You brought this up to me, and it really made me think, because they're going to put a roof on the thing because they want Super Bowls. That's why they're building.
Well, they want Super Bowls. They also want concerts.
Yes, they do. So they're going to put a roof on the thing. Got to be a retractable roof. The Bears have to play outside. They have to.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
There's no way the Bears cannot play outside. That would make the Packers the only team in the NFC North with an outdoor stadium. To me, that makes the AFC North better the division because all their teams play outside.
As they should. Football is meant to be played outdoors.
Actually, that would make the NFC North the division with the most teams with indoor stadiums, wouldn't it?
Dallas has retractable or has a hole in
As
the
a
roof.
whole, that counts as open space.
Yeah, probably. Do you realize, speaking of
That's
domes,
crazy.
you know who the
AFC South.
You know who the first person was to actually recommend roofs on stadiums?
Leroy Roofton.
No. Curly Lambeau.
Really?
Back in the 40s, said at some point they're going to be playing indoors, and he was actually saying we should put a dome over whatever the Packers are playing.
Yeah, you won't now. I mean, you could physically, but that would
never happen.
You can't play it. It's a frozen tundra. That was cemented in 1966 or 67. I'm sorry,
67 for the Ice Bowl. Yes,
that made it the frozen tundra. You can never put a roof over. But the Super Bowl, it is Super Bowl week.
Yep.
It is the Niners versus the Chiefs, which is exactly, I think, what the NFL wanted.
According to their colors, it should have been Baltimore.
Listen, I swear, if the Chiefs win and it ends with Travis Kelce saying I'm going to Disneyland and then proposing to Taylor Swift, I'm not watching football next year.
You've seen those predictions in that conspiracy theory.
I have. And if that happens, he's the MVP and uses his moment to propose to Taylor Swift, I can't watch football anymore. I just can't. I can't watch football. I love Taylor Swift. I really do. She has good songs, seems like a fine person. I know I've said this on the show before, but this is football, not a reality show, okay?
You know how many more eyes she's brought to the NFL this year?
Yeah.
A lot.
She has.
I would not be surprised to see her doing part of the halftime show as a surprise.
So I said last week, it's 100% going to happen, but Brock Purdy is the more question. Patrick Mahomes, already at 28, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yes.
Hands down. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, has had a lot of critics. The question is it rightfully so? I think so, because it's the same criticism I give to Kurt Warner, where he played with a Hall of Fame team.
He does. I don't
think he was just managing the game well enough.
Put Brock Purdy on the Vikings this year?
Well, that offense was humming.
It was humming.
So with Kirk Cousins, but I think you put him on a lot of other teams and he's struggling. That is a great team. You know, it's the same argument with Terry Bradshaw. You know, is Terry Bradshaw as good as he was with Lynn Swann and Stallworth on either side?
That is
and
not
Franco Harris in the backfield.
That is not a comparison. Line. That is not a comparison. Probably closer to the Bob Greasy Dolphins.
Sure. You mean the Earl Morrall Dolphins?
Whatever. They handed the ball off to Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris a lot.
Do you realize a lot of go ahead.
Bob Greasy in one Super Bowl, not the one they played against the Vikings, not the perfect season one. Bob Greasy threw 8 passes. 8
really?
For the whole game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's fun. And Purdy, he is a playmaker.
He is.
He's made plays. He did it against the Packers. He got him down the field.
Fourth quarter. I mean, the both teams lost those games. We talked about that. But here's a statistic. The guy's thrown for almost 70% completion. Threw for 4,200 yards, 4,280 yards, 31 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. The guy had a good season.
He did.
A really good season.
He also has maybe one of the best teams around him I've ever seen.
He does. Well, let me ask you this then.
Okay.
We're going to play a game. And let's hear the music for video games or games. All right. Brock Purdy or is the game we're going to play. I am leaving out the big ones. I am leaving out Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. I'm leaving those out.
Okay.
Those are obvious ones. Yes, they are better. I'd rather have them. But there is a whole list of teams or of quarterbacks that would they be better with Brock Purdy or without? So let me ask you this. Brock Purdy or Deshaun Watson?
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy or Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson. If he's Russell Wilson from Seattle and plays under control. Last season, Russell Wilson, I'll take Brock Purdy.
I'll take Brock Purdy either way. I think I really would. Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence?
Wait, Trevor Lawrence looked this year?
Sophomore slump.
I know.
It's a bad team. Calvin Ridley dropped how many balls this year?
Trevor Lawrence has just got more talent.
I agree. Brock Purdy or Tua Tagovailoa? Sure, I said that wrong. My bad.
Tua can't play in cold weather. That whole team can. I think in that case, I'd take Purdy. I think he's a more controlled quarterback.
I think I take Tua.
Okay.
Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott?
Can I say toss-up?
Nope. Yeah, pick one.
I think Brock Purdy on the Cowboys this year would have made it a better team.
It would have been less mistakes.
I'll take Purdy.
Brock Purdy or Jared Goff?
Jared Goff.
Really?
I think he's got a better arm. He's better talent.
I think you want to talk about toss-up.
Yeah, that's really a toss.
I think you reverse those and they look exactly the same. I really do. I think just Jared Goff has more experience, which has benefited him. Brock Purdy or Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins.
All day. Brock Purdy or Derek Carr?
Brock Purdy.
Really?
Carr's good. Carr's good, but he's never got over the hump.
Okay.
He's more experienced. I'll still take Purdy.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think so too.
All day.
Brock Purdy or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love outplayed him for 3.5 quarters. I think maybe this is a Packer fan in me coming out, but I think I'd rather have Jordan Love.
Jordan Love's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
More upside.
Brock Purdy or Justin Fields?
Brock Purdy.
No way. No.
Yes.
What Justin Fields did with a Bears team that he could barely stand up straight with how bad that offensive line
He's not going
played.
to be the Bears quarterback next year.
Okay, put Justin Fields on the Niners and then put Brock Purdy on the Bears. Who has the better? It's Justin Fields is the answer.
I don't think so.
Fields
I think
is the if the Niners this offseason can trade for Justin Fields, they make that trade.
no.
Justin Fields is the answer. You're wrong on that one. I'll fight you on that.
Your
one.
Ohio State fandom is taking
This is an
over.
Ohio State fandom. It's really not. Forget Ohio State. Honestly, it didn't even cross my mind that he was an Ohio State quarterback.
Does Justin Fields have a huge upside that hasn't been reached yet?
Yeah.
And did he have a coach? If he had an offensive coach that could have worked with him like Kyle Shanahan, I think he'd be.
If Justin Fields was drafted, which he should have been, instead of Trey Lance, this team is a different world.
Yeah, but that's not the reality. And the reality is, I think I take, as they sit right now, Brock Purdy is going to. He would have led the Chicago team in a with fewer errors.
No way. Yeah. You are out of your mind. Brock Purdy or, I got one more. Okay. Brock Purdy or Baker Mayfield.
Baker looked really good this year.
He did. But he can be prone to mistakes.
He can. And that's why I think I would lean towards Brock Purdy. I think Purdy is a top 15 quarterback.
Sure.
So I would take him over Baker Mayfield.
The issue is I think you know who Baker is. I think he's reached his upside, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a good quarterback.
He may not be the quarterback in Tampa next. He may go to a different team again.
Stupid. I mean, you got a good thing going there. You stick with Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield, I don't know. I don't know if Baker Mayfield can run an offense like that.
He looks good in spurts. He's looked good in LA when he took over. He looked good in Tampa for most of the season this year.
He had a couple bad games.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't forget, San Francisco had a 3-game losing streak at one point this season.
They did. Is Brock Purdy, he has a chance to be the Super Bowl MVP if they win.
Yeah.
But
Baker Mayfield's more fun to watch.
He's still small, and he has, it won't be raining, although the field is supposedly an issue in Vegas.
Their practice field
is bad. If anybody gets hurt, that's going to be bad news.
They put sod over the turf,
which is ridiculous.
I don't get it.
I don't either. Brock Purdy's got small hands too. Obviously affected him against the Packers. But overall, he's a picture of consistency.
Except for those 3 games.
He had 3 bad games, but when the game is on the line,
so far he's shown up.
He's shown up. And I think he's going to show up this week. I'll put it to you this way. We're in the Super Bowl. Tie game, 5 minutes to play, and San Francisco gets the ball. I would trust Brock Purdy to take them down.
Over Baker Mayfield, yeah.
Yeah.
I can give you that one.
I think Mahomes is going to get the ball in with 2 minutes and go down and win the game.
Yeah, for sure. Mahomes is a different animal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a different type of species.
In my mind, he's past Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time.
He might have. He has a long way to go. I disagree with you on a lot of these.
Wait a minute. He's got 4 Super Bowls now?
He's got a long career to go. Let's see how he does when the staff changes. That's what makes Brady arguably the greatest, is because he switched out his talent and kept on winning.
Yes, he did.
Which Patrick Mahomes hasn't done yet. Kelsey's still there. He went from different tight ends to different wide receivers to different running backs and kept winning with different players on his team. He went from Wes Welker to Julian Edelman. He went to Randy Moss then to Julian Edelman on that same team to just Julian Edelman. He went from Aaron Hernandez and Gronk to just Gronk. Like he's been through all the switches.
Gronk or Travis Kelce?
I don't know the answer to that. Probably Kelce.
Kelce's a wide receiver.
He
is.
At this point. Gronk's a different breed with the blocking especially, so talk about a different animal. I mean, he was a monster.
He always reminded me of a rhinoceros that could catch the ball.
That's fair. That's a good way to look at it. He's talk about a different breed. So you can't say he's the best yet because we haven't seen him really go away from his security blankets in the offense.
True, but he can do things that I've never seen.
He can. It'll just be, when I say he has a long way, he's going to have a full turnover. Travis Kelce's not going to be there forever. His receivers are already changing.
Andy Reid may not be there. Which means Bill Belichick's going to be there, but that's a story for a different day. So who are you taking in the game?
The Chiefs. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that close.
San Francisco's got the better roster.
Do they?
They do.
Okay. Quarterbacks make up for rosters.
I'm taking the Chiefs because of the quarterback. Yeah. I mean, the
Chiefs are going to win this one. The NFL wants the Chiefs to win this one, but I swear, if Travis Kelce proposes at the end, I might be done with football. I won't be. I love the sport. It'll be cute. It'll be a memory.
Sure.
But man, I don't want to. I just can't do it. They're going to break up. I hope they don't. I hope they're married forever. I always hope for happiness. But if they break up, that's going to be one hell of a song she writes.
Album.
The whole album.
There'll be a whole album.
Yeah. She'll just name it Chiefs. You know. Just write about everybody on that team. We are going to do the greatest NFC quarterbacks of all time. But before we do that, you let us know what you think on our Brock Purdy or game. Who would you pick? And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. I have spent way too long this week on this list trying to pick out the best quarterbacks for each team.
Okay.
The NFC was a lot harder than the AFC.
A lot
harder.
Now, granted, the NFC has been around since the beginning of time, with a couple exceptions. Obviously, Pittsburgh used to be in the NFC.
The NFL and you have been around for a very, very long time.
You interrupted me to say that?
I had to.
Really?
I had the chance.
Okay.
I had to. But we are going to start from the west to the east in the same way.
West to the east?
East to the west. Sorry, we're going east to the west.
Have to flip my whole sheet if you did that to me.
In the same way we did with the AFC. I got the second part right, just not the first part right. Which means we are starting with the Dallas Cowboys.
Must we?
We must. We must.
Okay. I think you'll probably disagree with me,
Okay.
but they have Troy Aikman, and it came
They do.
for me. It came down to Aikman or Roger Staubach.
Yes.
Don Meredith is also in there.
Meredith wasn't really there for the Super Bowl era, though.
What are you talking about? He was there for the first two. He lost the Ice Bowl.
He was there for 3 years. It's the same with Bart Starr. He was there for like 3 years.
He was there for the beginning of the team, which I think was 1960 something.
60,
Anyways,
1960 on the
Anyways, Don Meredith was a great quarterback. It was sad that the Ice Bowl ruined his career, ended his career. I'm going with Roger Staubach. He's number 4 on their all-time stats list, but here's why I'm going for them. He's Captain Comeback. He is Captain America. He's the guy who made Dallas America's team, quite honestly. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, served in Vietnam, and then showed up. And he was a different kind of quarterback that Landry really didn't like. He liked the Don Meredith, who would drop back and play in the system. If you've never seen the movie North Dallas 40, that's a movie about the Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach scrambled. He's the reason there's something called the Hail Mary, because he threw the first one in Minnesota, which Drew Peterson caught, and Minnesota didn't, put him out of the playoffs. Not that should make me happy, but it kind of does.
That's fair.
So, for me, it's Roger Staubach.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Of course you are.
Roger Staubach is great. Don Meredith, here's the thing for Don Meredith. I knew you were going to bring him up. Don Meredith's postseason record is 1-3.
Who do you have to play?
Packers.
There you go.
Don Meredith, you know how many full seasons Don Meredith started?
Not many. I mean,
0.
Yeah, Craig Morton was on that team as well.
0 full seasons.
Still
did he start for the team. So there is that to go against him.
Roger Staubach, actually, when the Cowboys won their first Super Bowl, he said, "This is Don Meredith's team I won with."
When they won the first Super Bowl, he also didn't play all the games either. Staubach started how many full seasons?
Well, take out Vietnam. So
when he was in the NFL.
He was a backup to Craig Morton for part of it, but he'd come in and he would win in the fourth quarter.
5 full seasons.
Okay.
That's all he played. How many seasons did Aikman start? Full seasons?
9?
3.
3.
There were backups in for every other season. So he started the season. I mean, like, how many full seasons did he play?
Oh,
like,
without injury?
Without another quarterback starting. Sorry, I should have mentioned that more.
Okay, then I have no idea. Aikman got hurt a couple times.
Yeah, 3. He played 3 full seasons without a backup coming in.
Look,
that's crazy to me. Romo,
that's a different.
Started 4.
Okay, that's fine. Think about football in the 70s and even still into the 90s.
Sure.
Different animal. Those quarterbacks were target practice.
I'm not saying you're wrong. That just surprised me because I didn't see that on any other list of quarterbacks. The Cowboys, and I even mentioned Romo. Romo only started 4 full seasons where he made it the full 16 games. I'm just saying that's not the case for any other franchise.
Okay.
Every other franchise, they've started many seasons without being taken out of the game. I just thought that was interesting. Staubach's postseason record is 11-6. Aikman is 11-4. Aikman has 3 Super Bowls. Staubach has 2. The answer is Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman's a great quarterback.
I can't argue with that. I mean, I'll go with Troy Aikman because he was my second pick.
The reason I say Aikman is I actually went through. I have a couple of friends whose families are Cowboys fans. And so I went through and I polled those family members, some that are your age, some that are older, some that are my age. And the consensus came to Troy Aikman being the answer.
I'm looking at these teams, and when I go back to some of these teams, this is why the NFL is what they are today.
Yeah.
And Roger Staubach was a huge part of why the NFL is what it is today.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
More so than Troy Aikman even. But that's a good pick. He was my second choice.
Yeah.
I just think I'm going with Roger the Dodger.
We can both agree it is not Don Meredith.
No.
All right, on to the Philadelphia Eagles. An interesting history here.
A lot of quarterbacks.
Randall
Cunningham, Ron Jaworski, and then the guy I picked.
You picked McNabb.
I picked McNabb.
I did too. There's really not much of an argument here. McNabb was 9-6 in the playoffs. Here's the interesting thing. Nick Foles was 4-2 in the playoffs.
Okay.
Which
the Eagles could end up and it will be Jalen Hurts in the end. Maybe.
Maybe. It could. We'll see what happens. They really had a downfall, and it's only been 2 years. But Don McNabb took them to, 5 straight NFC championships and a Super Bowl?
He was a really, really good quarterback, and he also then went to the Vikings and got.
He was terrible.
He was terrible, but he made him relevant.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
No, he did not. He was with the Vikings for like a game, and then they're like, "Oh, he sucks now," and cut him. Same with Washington. He was,
I don't think it was
real bad at the end. Oh, it was real bad.
All right, who's next up?
The New York Giants are next up. So you have 2 quarterbacks here. You have Eli Manning and you have Phil Simms. Those are your choices. You had Fran Tarkenton for a couple of years, never took them to the playoffs.
He doesn't count. He's a Viking.
He is a Viking. In the Super Bowl era, those are really the 2 options you have.
Yeah. I don't even. Oh, there's Jeff Hostetler. Way down. But he did take them to a Super Bowl. I'm going with Manning because he won games he never should have won in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's going to be remembered forever for beating the undefeated Patriots team.
Yeah.
With one of the great, no, not one of, probably the greatest catch in the history of the Super Bowl.
David Tyree.
Yeah, and as good as Simms was, Phil Simms I think is in that same category of a Trent Dilfer. Really, really solid.
Yeah.
But, and there's a reason for that. Bill Parcells never wanted a superstar quarterback. He wanted a quarterback that would run a system.
Right.
Eli Manning was not only a guy who could run the system, he could make things happen when he needed to. I'm going with Manning. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Here's the thing. Phil Simms would have won 2 Super Bowls. He got hurt in the 1990 season, and Jeff Hostetler took him the rest of the way.
To my point about Parcells wanting a quarterback that could run the system.
Here's the interesting stat about Eli Manning. You ready for this?
Yes.
Manning is 8-4 in the playoffs. All 8 of those playoff victories came in 2 seasons. Outside of the 2 seasons where he won a Super Bowl, he never won a playoff game.
The questions always come down to if you could make a clone or smash the 2 Mannings together to have Eli in the playoffs and Peyton in the regular season.
But do you want Eli in the playoffs? He won 8 games. He's 8-4. But that means he had 4 other times in the playoffs and didn't win another game.
So who are you picking?
Eli Manning.
Okay.
I mean, that's the answer. Phil Simms is up there. He has a 5-3 playoff record. But if you look at statistics, if you look at everything else and put it together, Eli Manning is clearly the answer. The only reason Phil Simms won his Super Bowl, or no, that was a Jeff Hostetler Super Bowl. Never mind.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, when the Bills went wide right.
That's when I went, mustache guy.
Got it.
He had a 70s porn star mustache.
Fun.
Yeah.
Good times. I'm going to move on quick from that. So on to Washington football team, Redskins football team Commanders. This one was tough.
It was because there's Doug Williams won a Super Bowl there. Was a really good quarterback.
One good season.
Yeah, but he was a really great season.
Yeah, for sure.
You had guys like
it's a good story. I mean, he's the first black quarterback to play in and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, guys like Sonny Jurgensen.
Yeah.
Billy Kilmer, who actually played in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sammy Baugh.
Lost it.
Slingy's. Yeah, that was the over the hill gang. They were like the oldest team to ever.
Were they really?
Yeah, they were really old. George Allen was their coach at the time. I think it comes down to
there is an answer.
There is an answer. It's Joe Theismann.
It's Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann had I'm getting the playoff record here. He was 6-2 in the playoffs, which ties him for makes him third. I'm sorry. Third on the all-time playoff percentage winning. He still has the most yards in history. He still has the most completions in Redskins history. He still has the highest? No, Kirk Cousins has the highest completion percentage. He is the second highest. I think he was, touchdowns.
I think he was the last guy to play football with a single bar. Whoops, sorry.
Well done.
Thank you. A single face mask bar.
Yeah, and you have to look at Joe Theismann, too. If he didn't get hurt the way he did, he would have had a lot more records here.
For those of you who don't remember or too young to remember, the most awful injury ever seen on TV. It was a Monday Night Football game. Lawrence Taylor got a hold of him. Lawrence Taylor got up and was calling Washington's team.
He snapped his leg in half. It's the Alex Smith injury. It literally is the same Alex Smith injury. The bone snapped in half.
Went into the ground.
Yeah.
It was awful.
It was a bad injury. He's lucky he was able to walk again after
He's
that.
lucky he didn't lose his leg.
Did you know that the actual way to pronounce Joe Theismann's name?
Yeah, Theismann.
Theismann. Do you know why he changed it?
Heisman Trophy.
Okay. You knew the answer.
Yes,
He
I
changed
did.
his name because of the Heisman Trophy. On to the NFC North. We are going to start with the Detroit Lions.
Detroit.
Now, this is one of the reasons why we said Super Bowl era, because otherwise the answer is Bobby Lane.
Right.
And Bobby Lane never played in the Super Bowl, and I don't like doing the baseball thing where you pick the guy who played 1,000 years ago. So it is Super Bowl era, so from 1966 to today.
There's only one answer. There's only one quarterback. I mean, Greg Landry had a couple decent seasons.
Yeah.
Scott Mitchell.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at guys like that, you don't have a lot to choose from.
No.
It's Matthew Stafford.
No, it's not.
In my mind, it is.
It is not Matthew Stafford.
Who are you picking?
Jared Goff. What did Matthew Stafford ever win?
What has Jared Goff won?
3 playoff games. 2 playoff games. Right? 2? Yeah. 2 playoff games. Which is more than anybody else has won in the Super Bowl era.
See, I've got Goff on a different team.
No. Matthew Stafford had a losing record. He was 74-90-1.
He owns every passing record.
Sure. I mean,
missed out.
Jared Goff is one of 2 Lions quarterbacks to have a winning record. He actually almost has an identical record to Bill Munson. Those are the only 2 Lions quarterbacks in Super Bowl era history to have a winning record.
I'm looking at talent, and I think if you'd ask most Viking fans, they're still going to go with Matthew Stafford, even though
Lions fans?
Lions fans, I meant.
I don't think they do. What did Matthew Stafford win? You have to win something.
I know that.
Now, to be fair, the reason that
He played longer.
Well, I'm not even saying that. The reason that the NFL rookie pay scale was changed was because of the Detroit Lions. Because they had Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, and Ndamukong Suh on these massive contracts that they just it destroyed their chances of bringing anybody else in.
They hadn't done anything, and I think it's
They
really
should have traded back and gotten some veteran talent.
Matthew Stafford was the guy that broke the camel's back. The veterans are going, no, we're not paying these rookies.
Yeah, it was Sam Bradford was the last
It was
one.
Sam
to get
Bradford,
the
yeah.
big contract, but it was already in play. But it was because of the Lions. The Lions team was handicapped. Here's these young stars, and they can't do anything.
Well,
and so he was really hurt by that, but still, he doesn't have a winning record. I love Matthew Stafford, but it is Jared Goff. Jared Goff has a winning record in Detroit. He has actually won playoff games. He has more playoff wins than any other Lions quarterback in history.
He hasn't been there long enough. I know he won this year, but this is really the first year he got to the playoffs. I'm not going to put him there after 1 year.
He got there last year, too. Oh, no, they just missed it last year.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. But they were rebuilding. He still has a lot of records. In his time there, he already has 78 touchdowns, over 12,000 yards, a 66% completion percentage, which is higher than Matt Stafford's.
Yeah, but Matthew Stafford has over 45,000 yards.
But Matthew Stafford also just threw the damn ball up to Calvin Johnson for the first
Wouldn't
part of his
you?
career. Yes, I
Okay.
would have. But I'm just saying.
Okay.
They were handicapped, but the answer is Jared.
This is where I want to hear from the Lions fans because I think it go either way. I just don't think Goff has been there long enough.
No.
One postseason doesn't a all-time great make.
It does if you're the Detroit Lions.
Sadly.
On to our favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. I don't think this is really a conversation. I really don't.
Really?
I don't.
I do.
It's not Bart Starr.
It is Bart Starr.
No, it's not.
Bart Starr is the only quarterback in Packer history to win 2 Super Bowls.
That's true.
He also was the MVP in both Super Bowls.
That's true.
Granted, Aaron Rodgers may be the best quarterback of all time. Not the greatest, but the one with most talent.
Here's the thing, though. This is Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
You can't count Bart Starr for the early 60s. You can't.
I'm not. I'm counting him for the Super Bowls.
He won 2 Super Bowls, and then his career ended.
He had been in the league since 57. He had played 10 plus years already. He still won. You were the one who just said you have to win something.
You do.
He won 2. Brett Favre brought them back to the prominence that they had in the 60s.
He did.
He would have been my second choice.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers took them to 7 NFC championships.
He did.
Won a Super Bowl. He is 11-10 in the playoffs. Brett Favre is 12-10.
What's Bart Starr in the playoffs? And yes, I'm going career.
9-1.
It'll be 4.
He has the greatest winning percentage in the playoffs.
It'll be a record nobody else will touch.
No. 9-1, 900 winning percentage. Yeah, he is number one and will be number one until the end of time. But Aaron Rodgers, you look statistically and winning. Again, we're talking winning 7 NFC championships. He has taken them to. He has some single-handedly. You look at the talent that's around him. He made that talent better.
Look, I love Aaron Rodgers. He's right up there.
I love Brett Favre too. I love Bart Starr too.
This is
the answer's Aaron Rodgers.
No, the answer is Bart Starr. This is very much generational.
It's not.
It is. I've seen them all.
No, you're including Bart Starr.
I'm not.
For more than that.
No, I'm not.
You are, because if you look at his actual playoff record, he's 2-0 in the playoffs. He won the NFL championship both years.
Different
or
time
4-0,
in
I should
football.
say.
He had to play against guys like Deacon Jones. He got that crap beat out of him.
Sure, not in 66 and 67.
Yes, he did. He was actually out for part of the 67 season. He won the biggest game ever played.
Yeah.
The Ice Bowl. He let him down the field.
Yep.
He is the best winner the Packers have ever had.
Yes.
Bart Starr is the greatest quarterback to have ever played in Green Bay.
Including
I am not.
60s.
I am talking the 2 Super Bowl seasons. That's it.
It's not enough time.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
The answer is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest Packer quarterback of all time until Jordan Love starts winning.
I hope so.
He already has his one playoff loss, so clearly he's never going to lose in the playoffs again.
We can hope.
There's another one now.
We have to go. Which one is it going to be?
It's the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
We have to pick one. It is the Minnesota Vikings.
It's not even a question. It's Fran Tarkenton. Got him to 3 Super Bowls. He was a scrambler before scrambling existed.
Yeah.
Nobody could touch him. He's still their all-time leader in most categories, or a lot of categories. That I think if Kirk Cousins would have taken them to the promised land this year, it would have been a conversation. But I think it's pretty decisive. It's not Tommy Kramer. It's not Whiskey Wade Wilson. It's Fran Tarkenton.
As of now, it is Fran Tarkenton. I agree. If Kirk Cousins would have come to fruition to be the MVP as I had predicted, and like it looked out he was going to be, I think that Kirk Cousins goes down as the greatest quarterback in Viking history. But Fran Tarkenton took the Vikings to 3 Super Bowls. Lost them all, but nobody else has won one. So can't really say anything. He still is the leading passing yards in Vikings history. He has more touchdown passes than anybody in Vikings history. He is by far the best Vikings quarterback of all.
If you're watching this show and you don't know really who Fran Tarkenton is because he played in the 70s, so it's ancient history, go watch his highlights. He was like a running back in the backfield, getting away from people, circling back around, and then somehow would find a way to throw a completed pass. I hated him.
Here's the funny thing. We're going to go on to another team that was the reason we said Super Bowl era only.
Yes.
There is really one team in the NFC North. This isn't me being a Packer fan. I want you to know that this is just truth.
Bear fans would agree.
The Packers are the only team that has had great quarterback play in their history.
And that's why the
Vikings did with Fran Tarkenton for a while, but that's been really it.
But that's why the fans of those other teams hate the Packers so much.
I get it. I understand. But we got to pick a Bears quarterback.
Can't choose Sid Luckman.
He was before the Super Bowl era. So you have not a lot to choose from here. By default, though, somebody has to be the best quarterback.
It's one of two.
It is.
Jay Cutler or Jim McMahon.
Correct.
It's Jim McMahon.
It is. Jay Cutler loses on that simply because he sat on a bike in the NFC Championship, which is the Bears' fault for sure. Jim McMahon has actually a winning record. Jay Cutler doesn't. Jim McMahon went 46-15 with the Chicago Bears. Again,
Bears had a really good team there.
Also, by the way, only started one season where he started all the games.
Yes, he got knocked out one season thanks to Charles Martin, the Green Bay Packer. How many Super Bowl rings does Jim McMahon have?
2, right?
Yep.
He has one with the Packers, too.
Yes, he does.
He's back
that he will never, ever bring out of the box.
Yeah, well, he still got it, so he got paid to be there. If he really cared that much, he shouldn't have went and played for the Packers. So I don't want to hear, I'm a Bear, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to hear it. But he was 46-15. I didn't realize he had that good of a record when he was with the Bears.
He had Walter Payton.
I was going to say, he mainly handed the ball off.
Right.
If you're looking at it, he threw for less yards than most other quarterbacks that played for that team, including Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was actually really good for the Bears. He had a 35-30 record. He's the one that followed Jim McMahon and actually played pretty well.
You know what I remember? Excuse me. You know what I remember Jim Harbaugh for? Monday night game in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Tika and Harbaugh in a screaming match because Harbaugh audible a play or something.
Really?
They were on the sidelines just screaming at each other. It was funny.
Jim Harbaugh's a character. It'll be fun to see him in LA now, back in the California sunshine. I didn't realize how well he did, though. He had to be put on my list. But the answer is Jim McMahon. I mean, you have a guy who won a lot of games. Now, granted, Walter Payton won a lot of those games. But he happened to be the quarterback. And listen, you want me to change my answer, find a better quarterback. What else can I say? It is
maybe somebody will. I doubt it.
I doubt it. And again, you can't choose Sid Luckman. It's Super Bowl era only.
You could have Bobby Douglas, who ran a lot more than he ever passed, but he wasn't that good.
On to the NFC South. We are picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, do we have
again? I don't know who to pick here. Doug Williams was with Tampa Bay for the longest, really, of any quarterback, and played well on some bad teams. You have Vinny Testaverde. I mean, Doug Williams doesn't get remembered as a great quarterback simply because he played for the Buccaneers when they were really, really bad, but did take them to the playoffs. So you got to give him credit for that.
I think
who you got?
You have Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's a Patriot. He's not a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
Even though he won there. There's only one. Brad Johnson. Got Tampa his only Super Bowl.
Besides Tom Brady, he's not the only Super Bowl. Tom Brady won Super Bowl.
Yeah. I try to forget that.
Got it. He's the only one besides Tom Brady with an above 500 record. You have Doug Williams, who was right at 500. You had Trent Dilfer, who was a 500 quarterback from 94 to 99. Brad Johnson was 26-23. Tom Brady was 32-18. Now look at this here, okay? If we're talking playoffs, did I even bother writing down playoff records? No, I didn't. Because it's not even close. Oh, here it is. I have it right here. So Tom Brady is 5-2. Baker Mayfield is 1-1. Doug Williams is 1-3. Brad Johnson was 3-1, who has the only playoff record better than Tom Brady. Passing yards, Tom Brady's almost in the lead of all of them. Jameis Winston is in the lead with Tom Brady in second.
Different game, though.
The answer is Tom Brady.
No, it's not.
The answer is Tom Brady.
We made a decision that you had to play. We had to pick a quarterback for each team.
But it is Tom Brady.
No, it's not.
Tom Brady was 32-18.
Yeah. Okay, then who's the Patriots' greatest quarterback of all time?
It's also Tom Brady.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, I'd feel better picking Drew Bledsoe as the Patriots' best quarterback than I would picking the second place in Tampa Bay. Like, at least I could have went to Jim Plunkett or to Drew Bledsoe in New England. I don't really have anybody to go to in Tampa Bay. I mean, it's Brad Johnson because he won the Super Bowl with that defense. Jameis Winston was fun to watch for a few years. But the answer's Tom Brady.
No, it's not.
We'll put Brad Johnson because we made that rule, but the best quarterback to ever play for Tampa Bay was Tom Brady.
You made that rule. So this is your rule, your fault.
I know.
You deal with it.
And then I saw the Buccaneers. And it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not giving him two teams.
That's fair. Well, then we're going with Brad Johnson. I could also make an argument for Doug Williams. He was really good for the Buccaneers because it was a bad Buccaneers team, and Doug Williams played pretty well. But it's Tom Brady. I mean, it's okay. We're going Brad Johnson.
Who's next?
But it's Tom Brady. We're doing the New Orleans Saints. This one, I don't think we need to have much of a conversation.
No, it's Archie Manning.
You're out of your damn mind. I knew you were going to do that.
I had to bring him up because Archie Manning played on some of the worst teams in the history. He's one of those guys. New Orleans should retire his number if they haven't already because he played for horrific teams and still made the game fun to watch.
He did. Arch Manning, we've said it several times, if Arch Manning was on a different team. Archie Manning. Sorry, Arch is the kid, right? Archie Manning, if he would have been on another team, probably would have been a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Probably.
It's just the Saints were the Aints back then, and they were real
There's
bad.
only one answer. It's Drew Brees.
It is Drew Brees, by far. Best playoff record, by far. You have... I didn't write a lot of these down. I need to do better at that. but it's Drew Brees. I mean, I will say I did forget how good Aaron Brooks was for a
short time.
For a short time with Joe Horn and Aaron Brooks on those teams. I forgot how fun those teams were to watch. But yeah, we don't need to talk about this anymore. Yeah. The answer is
Drew Brees holds almost every record.
He does. On the Atlanta Falcons.
63,000 yards. That's pretty amazing.
And that's just with the Saints.
Yes.
Is that his career?
No, that's with the Saints. No, that's probably
he actually for the Saints
68,000
for just the Saints. That's not including his numbers with the Chargers.
Right.
That's unbelievable. On to the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh God. I know who I want to pick.
Yeah.
I really do. The best quarterback to ever play for them is Michael Vick.
Yes.
However,
Matt Ryan.
Almost 60,000 yards. 66% completion percentage.
If Vic would have kept playing there, Matt Ryan never would have played for the Falcons.
Right.
He was drafted the year after Vic was put in jail for the dogfighting thing. But Michael Vick, he was great. He was fun to watch, was becoming a great passer. If you look at what he was for the Eagles, that's what he was turning into with the Falcons.
Great pocket passer.
Yeah, and he would have led the Falcons to a lot of wins in that second stint of his season.
You know who else was a good quarterback for them? This was back in the day, but Steve Bratkowski.
Yeah, 75 to 85.
Yeah, he was just
a losing record.
Falcons were an awful team, but he was a good quarterback and fun to watch.
He had a losing record.
He's fun to watch. Just saying.
That's fair. On to a new team, and that made it hard to pick. I actually struggled with this one.
Panthers?
It's the Carolina Panthers.
I didn't struggle because there's only one answer for me. Forget the records. Throw out. Do whatever you want. It's Cam Newton.
Yeah, it is. But let's not forget Jake Delhomme here.
He was good.
Jake Delhomme had a winning record. He was 53-37. Cam Newton actually had a worse winning percentage. He was 68-60 with the Panthers.
Cam Newton threw for almost 30,000 yards.
He did. Jake Delhomme threw for 20,000.
186
touchdown
TDs.
interception ratio is almost identical. Actually, Jake Delhomme has the edge on that one.
What did he win?
What did Cam Newton win? They both went to a Super Bowl.
I
mean, that's not a good argument. Jake Delhomme actually had a really good playoff record.
Cam Newton. I like Delhomme
here. It's Jake Delhomme. I mean, Cam Newton was the best player, but if we're talking best quarterback, Jake Delhomme had a better record. Jake Delhomme had a better playoff record.
Cam Newton's got better stats down the line. He was a more athletic quarterback.
Yeah.
He kind of changed the game.
It is Cam Newton.
It is Cam Newton.
You're right. It's Cam Newton.
Who's next?
We are going out to the West with our final four teams here, starting with the San Francisco 49ers.
Should be hard, but it's really not. It is Joe Montana. 1-4.
Yeah.
He changed the game.
It's really not even close.
He introduced the West Coast offense. He's in the conversation for the greatest quarterback ever.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Joe
Montana had a 721 winning percentage with a 101-39 record. He was a 14-5 in the postseason, won 4 Super Bowls with the San Francisco 49ers. Steve Young, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated players in NFL history. He was terrible with the Buccaneers. He was no good in the USFL. And he had a really good team around him, including Roger Craig.
You know what he was known for? Getting that monkey off his back and saying
Now, listen, he had a better winning percentage than Joe Montana, but he had Jerry Rice's entire career. Joe Montana didn't. And also, Joe Montana was going back and forth with a lot of good teams back then, especially the Cowboys in that era, who were always knocking on the door for another Super Bowl.
Don't forget, he led the 49ers down for a game-winning drive. They ended in the catch.
Correct. Steve Young actually had an 8-6 playoff record versus Montana's 14-5. If we're looking at the statistics in general, I mean, it's really not even close.
No.
It is Joe Montana by a landslide as the best 49ers quarterback of all time. And if any of you say it's Steve Young, I mean, you need to
put it in the comments. Let the argument begin.
You need to check yourself there. On to the St. Louis-Los Angeles Rams.
God.
I won't do it.
Speaking of the hardest team to pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to default to the guy, and he did play in the Super Bowl era. He played there for a long time, threw for 35,000 yards, 209 TDs. His winning percentage is not good because they didn't win that much. I mean, I'm going with Jim Hart because I don't know who else to go with. It could have been Neil
You're on the
Lomax.
wrong team. We are talking the Rams.
You just said the Cardinals.
No, I said LA-St. Louis Rams.
Oh, I thought you said Chicago /
We can do the Cardinals.
Do the Cardinals.
All right,
While
we're
we're
doing the
there.
Cardinals.
We'll come back to the Rams. More fun. Sorry.
We're doing the Cardinals.
I heard Cardinals because I was thinking about them. I'm still going with Jim Hart.
Are you?
Yeah,
You had a losing record.
I know.
Close to 500, 87-88, one game away from being.
He still leads with yards, passing, completions. He's just out of a mess of quarterbacks, including Jake Plummer and Neil Lomax, Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer had a 633 win percentage.
He
was
did.
38-21.
Who are you picking? That's it. I'm kind of out of this one. I just said Jim Palmer.
People say Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner had a losing record with the Cardinals. He is not the answer to that question. He had one good season with the best wide receiver of all time on his team. The answer is Carson Palmer. If you're talking about overall numbers and overall best performance, the answer is Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer revived his career in Arizona. Took him to the playoffs several times. Now, didn't win anything in the playoffs, to be fair, but he by far was the best quarterback they've ever had. You can argue Jim Hart. He still owns all the records and touchdowns, but also he had more interceptions than he did touchdowns. I don't care what era you're playing in. Having more turnovers than touchdowns is never a good thing.
I saw Jim Hart play. Carson Palmer was great. This is one of those where you throw him in a hat and whichever one comes out. Jim Hart came out for me. No, I think it's Jim Hart.
It's Carson Palmer. Well, let's go back to the team I said to begin with.
Do we have to?
You heard St. Louis, and I know why you went there, but it is the Rams we're going to talk about now. Who do you got for the Rams?
I know who I should pick, but I can't. I mean, if you look at the records, Jim Everett leads in most.
Chris?
Don't do that.
That's still one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it was fun to see Jim Rome get.
I mean, Jim Everett had a losing record. He was 46-59.
He got Mark Bulger. Roman Gabriel was the first one that popped into my head, but he didn't win anything.
If you look at winning percentage, Roman Gabriel was 647. You have Norm Van Brock. Was it Brocklin?
Yeah.
He was 669. Jared Goff had a winning record. Pat Hayden had a 645 win percentage.
I forgot about Pat Hayden. There's a lot of, Norm Van Brocklin, I don't think really played in the Super Bowl era, so he doesn't count.
That's fair. He did.
If we're looking at God. Yeah, I'm going to. I reluctantly, only because he leads with stats. It's either Goff or Everett for me. Goff got him to a Super Bowl.
Definitely not Everett. You can't choose a quarterback with a losing record.
I know. But looking at their overall stats, yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Goff.
No. The answer is Matthew Stafford.
No, again, Matthew Stafford is a Lion.
Okay, he wasn't for me.
Okay, fine.
We're reversing here. The answer is definitely Matthew Stafford. If you're looking at win percentage, if you're looking at playoff success, he has a 4-1 playoff record, tied for the most playoff wins.
He's only played there how many years? 2. All right. Can't be the greatest of all time if you don't play there.
He was hurt one, though. It doesn't count. He is the best quarterback ever. If you're talking about players that win, he won a Super Bowl with the team.
He did. Goff got him to one.
He did, but he didn't win it. Matthew Stafford, with the short time he played there, is slowly climbing up the list of all-time yards and touchdowns. It's just Matthew Stafford.
No.
Because I refuse to pick Kurt Warner.
Okay.
That's really what it comes down to.
Well, Warner did.
If you look at Kurt Warner, let's be fair here.
He had the greatest show on turf. It was one of the best teams ever put together.
He did. And that's where my argument is for him with the Cardinals and on the Rams is that
he was not the starter on either of those teams.
He wasn't. He was not the designated starter to begin with. And he also was surrounded again by 3 Hall of Famers on offense, a great offensive line. It was the greatest show on turf with a system that Trent Green would have done just as well in. Now, Kurt Warner did the job there, right? And took him to 2 Super Bowls, but it's just, he's surrounded by too good of a team. And yes, I'm holding that against him. The answer is Matthew Stafford for the Rams.
The answer, again, reluctantly for me, is Jared Goff.
I think Pat Hayden is better than Jared Goff was for the Rams.
Pat Hayden never got him to a Super Bowl.
He didn't. On to our last team. It is the Seattle Seahawks. You got two choices here.
Jim Zorn or Russell Wilson.
You can't forget Matt Hasselbeck.
Okay.
Matt Hasselbeck was a really good quarterback for the Seahawks.
He was.
Did you know Warren Moon played for the Seahawks for a while?
I did not.
Yep. Played in there in 97 and 98.
You're going to go with the guy, in my mind, I'm going with the guy that won him a Super Bowl, and I'm going with Russell Wilson.
It is Russell Wilson.
I mean,
Jim Zorn never took him anywhere.
There were some bad teams. That was right after the expansion.
Yep. He was their first quarterback.
Dave Craig, Wisconsin kid.
Yeah.
He was a good quarterback for them as well. Hasselbeck would have been my second choice, but I think it's Russell Wilson.
It is Russell Wilson. Took him to 2 Super Bowls, lost one on a passing play call that should have been a run to Marshawn Lynch. Matt Hasselbeck was really, really good in Mike Holmgren's system. Obviously never really did much after that. Russell Wilson hasn't either, though, to be fair.
No, but Matt Hasselbeck wrote a check that his body couldn't cash.
Oh, with the guarantee in Green Bay.
And we're going to go score.
Yeah, and then Al Harris runs it back for a touchdown. The man I still say that should have been the Packers defensive coordinator, but oh well. It is Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks. You let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. As good as a time we had and as good of a show as we have had this week, you all know you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word, so it is all you.
This has been a bad week for me, and I think for America, because we lost 2 American originals. Carl Weathers, and sadly today we lost Toby Keith. Carl Weathers was important as to the Rocky franchise and what it has become since then, as was Sylvester Stallone. If anybody else had played Apollo Creed, I'm not sure there ever would have been even a Rocky 2. Don't forget, he was supposed to be the villain in that movie, and yet he became beloved. He went from being a bombastic fighter in the Muhammad Ali image to being Rocky's best friend and his trainer. I think there were many people who actually rooted for him to win both fights. Every guy, it's one of those moments, guys are allowed to cry, and most guys, I think, teared up a little bit when his trainer, Duke Everett, yelled at Rocky, "Throw in the towel!" in Rocky 4. He was also the man who made Happy Gilmore a really funny movie when he played his mentor, Chubbs. He was incredible in Star Wars Mandalorian, which he did just a year ago, but for me, he's forever going to be Apollo Creed. Today, sadly, we lost one of country music's greatest stars. I'm not a huge country music fan, but I love Toby Keith. He was unabashedly American and a patriot. We could talk for hours about the trips he made to entertain and support the troops, whether it is in this country or overseas. The songs he wrote, like Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue and The American Soldier. What I admired about him, though, was before he made it big, he actually worked on oil rigs during the day and played music at night. He truly lived the American dream. As for me, well, he's never going to be forgotten because of 2 songs. Red Solo Cup and I'll Never Smoke Weed with Willie Again. I may personally be not in favor of weed. That's a discussion for another day. Those songs make me smile and laugh every time I've heard them, and I've listened to them both today. So today I raise my Red Solo Cup to Carl Weathers and Toby Keith. May they both be in heaven and being told that they got the absolute most out of the gifts that God gave them. Rest in peace.
Solid last word. Sad last word. I did watch Rocky right after he passed away. You told me Toby Keith passed away right before we came into this studio. So
yeah. He died earlier today. It was announced today.
Setting the tone.
Sorry.
Thank you, as always, so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.